What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here with Zero Meter Chasers live on July 16th on this very hot and humid uh, Thursday afternoon here in Kentucky, looking at the Kentucky Mesonet website. As always, I will give everybody a couple more seconds to get in here before I get started. Just make sure if you guys can hear me well that you hit that the like button if you're on Facebook, or just leave a comment to let me know that the audio is working correctly here. Uh, but again, we're looking at the Kentucky Mesonet website. We'll kind of look over the conditions today as we do see some kind of straggling pop-up thunderstorms today, and we'll look at kind of some changing conditions as we get into the weekend. So what we're looking at here is our dew points as we look across the state here on the Kentucky Mesonet website. And again, you guys can see that we have very high dew point values. Looking here in Hardin County, 75-degree dew point. All across the state, we have low to mid 70-degree dew points, which is leading to very oppressive heat. And it's also leading to those heat indices already approaching 100 degrees as we get to about 2:30 Eastern here today. So we are getting, it is very humid outside. I'm a football coach, for those of you that don't know. And we had practice this morning, and it is very, very, very humid out. I felt like today was more humid than even like last week felt for some reason. But you'll see across the state, we're getting those heat indices approaching or over 100 degrees. Currently 98, feels like 98 degrees here in E-Town, 99 degrees in Bowling Green, and 99 degrees in Greensburg. So all across central Kentucky, really, we're also getting in here in Breckinridge County, 100 degrees. And then up here in Louisville, I'm sure, that urban heat island, we're probably reaching or exceeding 100 degrees as well. Looking at our camera down here in Hardin County, you can see some of those popping cumulus clouds, and that is going to lead to more of an isolated, kind of a shower, isolated storm threat as we get into the afternoon. We will look at radar here right now. If I switch it over here to the Weatherfront website, here we are looking at the radar here in central Kentucky, and you'll see we're starting to get some of those showers and storms that are starting to fire here, especially near Louisville and Campbellsville. They're not going to be very tall. It's more of your garden variety showers, as Mike Sills, our meteorologist here, kind of mentioned earlier today. We'll continue these kind of pop-up showers and storms throughout the day. Not mostly everybody isn't even going to see rain today, but if you're the lucky one to kind of get cooled off, does look like the central Kentucky area does look like to be the area to kind of see those pop-up kind of showers and storms as we get into today. If we look at the SPC's outlook for today, again, we don't even have a severe risk. There is no severe risk today. More of just an isolated storm threat that we'll talk about. And kind of look at some data as we get into the afternoon. But any storm threat will kind of be isolated up here into eastern Ohio, into Pennsylvania. And as we move into Friday, you'll kind of see the same kind of stories going to unfold as we get into Friday, kind of be those afternoon pop-up showers and storms again. But when we get into Saturday is when things kind of change here. If you look at the Storms Prediction Center's outlook for Saturday, you'll see there's already a level 3 out of 5 slight risk for the kind of northern Ohio Valley here. Does include just a sliver here. Cincinnati is included, so portions of northeast of Kentucky are included. Does not look like a high risk at all, and we'll kind of look at the data here in a second. It looks like an overnight risk for many in Kentucky with showers and storms, but I do think that this risk could fire up some severe storms here in the northern Ohio Valley as we get into Saturday, and that's kind of when our pattern kind of shifts is Saturday night. I think we'll kind of see some more widespread storms. And again, we'll look at some data here in a second. But then as we get into Sunday, you'll kind of see the Storm Prediction Center is highlighting more of the southeast as that storm system kind of moves through. So if we kind of look at the excessive rainfall outlook, again, today we're just kind of worried about with how much rain that we've had. If any stronger thunderstorm that's very slow moving stays over the same area, that's why this kind of marginal risk here is drawn along the I-65 corridor. Many in central Kentucky are included. Not a big flooding risk with any of these. It's just your kind of summertime thunderstorms that could lead to more of an isolated flooding threat today or tomorrow. if a storm gets a little stronger and it kind of stays over your location for a long time. As we go into Friday, you'll see we keep that marginal risk, not a high risk for flooding at all. It does not look like organized storms, which is very good with the amount of rainfall that we've had. And then as we move on to Saturday, we really don't have a flooding risk at all. So I kind of wanted to look at some model data here, and we'll kind of look at what some of the model data is hinting at, some of the things that I've kind of talked about here in this video so far. So this is the HRRR here about 4 p.m., and you'll see it doesn't have a lot of thunderstorms, but it does have a couple of isolated pop-up thunderstorms as we get into our afternoon, especially here along the I-65 corridor. And I also think we could have some more pop-up thunderstorms here in western Kentucky. Kind of looks like two areas. And then as we get into the afternoon again, these are going to be very slow moving, very isolated. Not everybody will see rain, but we'll see a couple of those scattered and very isolated showers and storms as we get into our afternoon on Thursday. The humidity is very high, so we'll continue to see those heat indices of reaching or approaching 100 degrees. And then as we get through our Thursday, and we get to Friday, you'll see Friday morning again will be the same as today. We'll kind of build in that heat, and that'll kind of pop up some more showers and thunderstorms as we get to about 4 or 5 p.m. on Friday. But again, as we get into Friday, these storms look a little bit more widespread than today. And I do think that there's an isolated chance for maybe a brief gusty wind with some of these storms, but it's not a very high severe risk with these storms at all as we get into Friday afternoon. But it does look like a more wider threat for many in central Kentucky. So I do think it'll be more widespread as we get into Friday afternoon. But again, this does not look like more of a widespread severe weather. I do not see very much severe weather with this at all. It's kind of just your afternoon pop-up thunderstorms again. And then once the sun goes down, you'll kind of see those fade away as we get into Friday. So as we get into our Thursday and Friday, again, I think our biggest thing is going to be the heat. Heat indices are approaching or exceeding 100 degrees already. And then I think as we get into the weekend, we'll kind of see that storm threat kind of increase in the next couple of days. So that is what I have for Thursday and Friday. I don't think there should be any questions over that. But again, this kind of looks like your typical summer-like pattern for Thursday and Friday, hot, humid conditions with more of your isolated storm threat as we get into the afternoon. Now, I did want to cover Saturday, though, because that is where the SPC does have that slight risk. Now, the HRRR only goes to Friday afternoon, so I do have to switch over to another model here to kind of show you guys what to expect as we get into Saturday and Saturday afternoon. And again, as we get into Saturday, one thing that's very interesting to note is I do think we might have some isolated shower and storm activity as we get into the afternoon. Some model data is hinting at it. I actually don't want to use the NAM. Let me use the FV3 here. As we get to this is at 5 p.m. on Saturday. So up here is your timestamp. As we get into Saturday, we're going to continue to build in that heat and humidity. And the one change on Saturday, if I zoom out here, you'll see a complex of showers and storms are going to start to develop. So this is at 8 p.m. on Saturday. And you'll see these showers and storms, especially here in Ohio and central Indiana. Probably an organized MCS complex is going to develop as we get into Saturday afternoon. And that is why the Storm Prediction Center has that level 2 out of 5 slight risk here for portions of Ohio and Indiana. But as we get into Saturday afternoon, these storms are going to drift towards Kentucky, and we will still continue that kind of isolated pop-up storm activity too as we get into Saturday afternoon. Again, this is the farthest that the FV3 can go out. We don't have any CAM data on this yet, but it does look like the highest storm threat is really going to be centered across Indiana and Ohio for this event just because of timing. These storms will be moving towards Kentucky as we get into the overnight hours on Saturday. But again, once the sun goes down around 9 p.m., they're not going to have much fuel to work with, and that better fuel will be maximized up there in Indiana and Ohio. But I do think that this MCS complex will likely reach Kentucky in the overnight hours as we get into Saturday in overnight on Sunday, but it does not look like widespread severe weather, and it will be a weakening line of showers and storms, something that we're very, very familiar with here in Kentucky. So that's kind of how your Saturday looks like. I wanted to leave any questions that we had in the chat. Again, as we get into today and tomorrow, looks like a very similar like pattern, high humidity, high heat indice values for the next couple of days, and more of an isolated storm threat. As we get into Saturday, things kind of change, especially Saturday evening and overnight, with a complex of storms that look to fire here in Indiana and Illinois, or Indiana and Ohio, and will track its way, especially here into eastern Kentucky, as we get into the overnight on Saturday. So again, I'm going to leave you guys a couple seconds to put any questions that you have in the chat. One thing I did want to show is StormNet showing this possibility for some damaging wind gusts here as we get into the weekend. And I did want to show you guys StormNet. So I've shown StormNet a couple of times here. StormNet is one of our best forecasting tools when forecasting for severe weather. And it does forecast for damaging winds as well as tornadoes. And I'll kind of walk you guys through the threat here. So as we get into Friday, it's kind of interesting to see that the StormNet's kind of highlighting just an uptick in possibility for maybe that brief damaging wind gust as we get into tomorrow. That'll be more of a downdraft or a microburst as storms kind of collapse tomorrow. Does not look very high. Really, when you're looking at the wind values on StormNet, you're looking for the blues. So when you start to get to the blues, that's when you start to get more confidence in severe weather or damaging wind gusts occurring in thunderstorms. As we get into Saturday, though, and especially Saturday afternoon, you can see StormNet even has a little bit of blue here. This is still a lower confidence of damaging winds, but especially over here in West Virginia and Ohio, a more confidence in damaging winds as we get into the afternoon and evening on Saturday. So I did check the tornado risk. There is no tornado risk as we get into Saturday. The wind shear is just pretty weak with this system. There's not much of a tailpipe, as Brian Good likes to talk about. But I do think that we could have a couple of isolated storms as we get into tomorrow and Friday, and then we'll have to watch Saturday. But again, I don't think that the damaging wind threat is that big, even as we get into Saturday. So today and tomorrow is okay for us in London. I have storm anxiety. Yes. Today and tomorrow, I think all the way through the weekend, you're going to be okay with severe weather in London, Kentucky. This is not even a big risk on Saturday. It's more of an isolated damaging wind risk as we get into Saturday. But widespread severe weather does not look expected. More of an uptick in showers and storms as we get into the weekend. But I'm not worried about more widespread, significant severe weather as we get into the weekend. And again, as we look at the tornado threat, it's basically zero all the way through the weekend. And I'll tell you, looking at the long-term pattern a little bit, I did dive into that before I went into this video. I think as we get into early August, I don't see us getting very active in the tornado season yet. It looks to be very similar to what we're getting now. I know that we did talk about, in my last video, we talked about how we could get a little bit colder, and next week does look a little bit cooler, but a lot of the data is trending a little bit warmer again as we get into the late part of July. So I don't think we're done with the heat yet. I would love to get into some fall weather, but I think it's going to take us a couple of weeks to get into kind of the fall weather season. But again, not worried about severe weather, just more of an uptick of that shower and storm activity as we get into the weekend, but not a big deal at all. So that is all I have for you guys as we get into the weekend. Again, those typical pop-up showers and storms continue today and tomorrow. Show the radar real quick. You'll see those kind of pop-up storms starting here just to the east of Campbellsville and Somerset. These will be just, a lot of people will miss them. Only about 2% will see them, but when you see them, you're like, hey, well, I thought it wasn't supposed to rain today. Well, it's a very isolated threat as we get into today and tomorrow. And then as we get into our Saturday evening and overnight, I think that's when we'll have more of an increased shower and storm threat. So that is all I got for you guys. I'll give you guys another 30 seconds to put any questions in here. And again, I really appreciate all the support. We'll continue with live updates here on the 0 Meter page for the next couple of days. I am headed up to Bloomington, Indiana this weekend for a Best Buddies Leadership Conference. So I will be up there, but I'll try to give you guys some more updates as I am up there for the Leadership Conference. So again, I really appreciate all the support from everybody, and we'll continue to keep you guys updated here at 0 Meter Chaser. So thank you guys, and I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.